you have something you want to pop in?
Yeah.
'Cause I know, Mike, you got employees and volunteers and stuff.
Well, just kind of based on what both Trevor and Kyle were talking about, with the team and everything. And this morning I had a conversation with one of our team, and we were talking about another person that they had worked for who, had been just super disrespectful and not treating them well and all of this stuff. And like, I was trying to give them some advice on how to deal with that. And, we had a conversation earlier, Kyle and I and Trevor as well, just about like kind of old mentality of leadership was, you should just be appreciative you even have a job, and like basically almost like you're less than, right? Versus like, I think, and this is really what it's weird. It's almost, I feel like my age is like kind of like the cutoff between the two camps. And I see some people my age that go the other way, but I more identify with the newer, like leadership and management style of like, no, we're equals. Like, I appreciate you so much for even being here and like your talents and what you're bringing to the table, as much as like, I hope that you appreciate, the job as well. And Nathaniel can even, I think, speak on that as, working for us for so many years.
Nathaniel, you're on the spot right now, because Mike's Nathaniel's
You better
boss.
answer right or you can get fired. I'm kidding.
That's old school right there.
You know
Yeah.
what's crazy too is that it's not only that that's like, well, that's how he treats me with respect. That's how I'm now relaying how I'm treating the new employees or my coworkers. I'm treating them with the same level of respect as Mike showing.
They deserve
that
it.
just builds a tighter team. We all respect each other, and just that teaching style is just is amazing compared to what I've seen.
Well, I love what Mike brings to his business, because Simon Sinek always talks about people will do it for you because you will do it for them. Mm-hmm. It's kind of almost out that love. I know I'll do it for Kyle because Kyle will remediate that back.
Yeah,
to me.
What's funny, I'm hearing Mike say that, and by nature, the way that I was brought up, I started construction when I was, like 16, in a fab shop, and it's been construction work. It was for a long time, and that was the mentality, was get it done. Our sayings were, job has to get done, right? But then stay ready and got to get ready. There was things you'd say, and there really was like a lack of, maybe compassion. It was just like, hey, look, you've got to pay the bills, show up, do the work. It's almost that stoic mentality. And so I adopted that for a lot of years. And now that I'm in the people business, I've realized that not a lot of people can take that. So I've had to shed that a little bit, like Mike was saying over there, because this newer generation, they can't handle that. Yeah. And for good reason. It needed to shed.
Yep. And so there again, it goes back to dealing with people. Mm-hmm. What did Jesus say? You'll know them by the way they love each other.
Yep.
Yep. So it is. So I love that. Thank you guys for popping in and answering that. And so, Kyle, you have an obligation to our show, and I think this is a seat you're sitting in.
Yep. So, Trevor, this one's for you. Right. And so we're kind of expecting something. So bring it. Don't hold back. But what is something that people might not know about you?
Wow, so you threw
and
that
just
question.
be aware this is live.
Okay, I got it.
And your wife is sitting over Kyle's
if there's
right
a shoe
shoulder.
that comes flying, I'll try and block it. But
yeah, you threw that question at me about 5 minutes before the show, so thank you for that 5-minute warning.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I did think about that a little bit in that quick 5 minutes. And this is a pretty standard. I love traveling.
Right.
Me and my wife love traveling. It's something we share together.
I love that.
One of the things I don't think many people know, but we are actually planning on a big trip in May.
Okay.
And we're going to go hike the Camino, which is a 500-day trek through Spain.
500 days?
No, 500 miles.
Oh, 500 miles.
500 miles. Take about 40 days on foot. And we're going to walk the Camino de Santiago.
Wow. So wow. That now, are you getting in shape for that? I mean, is that something that you gotta?
That was my thought. I could barely hike.
I go to the gym every day, but I don't. I'm not sure I have 500 miles in me.
Well, because there's a difference. Going to the gym is different than hiking. I hunt.
There's elevation involved.
Yes. So I hunt, and I can tell you, hiking 500 yards is a mission. And so 500 miles, I don't want to know what that's like.
So I think we anticipate 35 to 40 days, and
man.
definitely
how fun.
Good for you guys, though.
We will have time to reflect.
And how many years have you been married?
So we've been married 28 years.
28 years. Congratulations to both of you, and you'll probably learn a lot about each other
We will learn
Biking 500 miles. I love
training
that, Trevor.
to walk 500 miles.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
Good.
I love that. So, and is this something that you've always talked about together and decided to do it together, or is this something that just popped up, one of your ideas?
Yeah, so not to go into a long story, so we were, my niece graduated from the Air Force Academy. So proud of her.
Wow.
So proud
That's
of
a big,
Avery.
that's a big deal. Congratulations. What's her name?
Her, Avery Richard.
Avery Richard. Congratulations. And thank you for your service.
So we were at a graduation, and we in Colorado Springs, and we shared a house with some other family members and friends of the family, and his name is Brian. Brian passed on about a year ago, and Brian was a colonel in the Marine Corps.
Oh, wow.
And this Brian, he lived a life, and my wife actually told me that I had a man crush on him because we had a 65-year-old.
I don't know how you take that from your wife. I mean, it's like
I was good with it. I'm not
Well, if
normally
you like
that.
him, it's a compliment.
Yeah,
It's
it
like,
is.
okay, well,
I'm not that
I'm good with
person
this
that
one.
gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning, but I was beating Brian up, a 68-year-old retired Marine Corps colonel. And I would beat him up. I'd make him coffee.
Oh, how
and,
cool.
And I would sit and chit-chat with him for about an hour. And I was picking his brain
oh, the
on,
wealth of knowledge a
Oh.
man like that would have.
on Marine Corps leadership and everything else. And Brian and Mary Alice, his wife, they'd sailed around the world. They've traveled. And I asked him, I said, all the places you've been, what is the one experience that has not compared to anything else? And he said, at age, I think 65 was the second time that he'd done it. He had done the Camino de Santiago, the pilgrimage walk, and he's done it twice, and he said it was life-changing.
Oh, I love
And
that.
so just everything that he'd experienced, so we started researching, we started looking at what it was all about, and it's a pilgrimage for a lot. There's 10,000 plus that do it every year.
Wow. I didn't-
Is it done like at a certain time where people just go on their own and then?
There's certain times, and there's they're called albergues, but it's almost like a nice hostel. And so if you like Basque food, you're basically every evening you show up and you meet new people.
I love that.
They have dinner prepared. You pack very light. There was a movie. It was called The Way, Martin Sheen. So if you are interested in it, that's kind of we just started doing some research, and it was something that. So yeah, there it is. It's out.
I love
Might
it.
be gone for 2 months in May.
I love it. You know what, Trevor, I love about your philosophy is you just keep rolling.
Yeah.
You may have been at the fire department for 30 years, but during those 30 years, you were busy.
Yeah.
You were busy. So let's jump into your life, Trevor. You know, we got a couple pictures here that will be you'll be able to see come up and you kind of just walk us through it.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So, wait, that's a great example. So there was a hike we just did this summer in July. So actually, it was Angel's Landing in Zion. So anybody that has done that hike, it is you're holding on to the side of the cliff, and there is some chains, and once again, an opportunity to kind of stretch it out there and see some beautiful land. And it's my wife Sherry. We've been married 28 years. Feel very blessed to have the relationship and the marriage that we have.
Those long-term marriages, you tell people, especially the young people that are ready to maybe check out of a marriage, just hold on.
Yeah.
So you and Sherry, congratulations.
Yeah.
And that's all the wisdom that you're able to share with other people now.
Well, and I look back on it, in 30 years with the fire department, she was there with me through the whole process.
Yeah.
Everything that I volunteered with and was part of the Burn Foundation, the Relief Association, and now 911 at Ease, we've done it together. So
I
we've
know.
actually been. It's kind of one of those things that I believe I was successful in the fire department because of having her on my side.
Well, that's spoken true from a wise husband that recognizes that you've got that mate that, helps you grow in what you do. And I got to brag on her because she is a nurse.
Yeah, she's actually she's an occupational therapist.
That's right.
Yeah.
I've met her in the hospital several times, and she. Again, you can just tell people who care about people, and you both are that. That you both are examples to that. So
Awesome, thank
good as those. So I think the next one is both of you again.
Yeah, so just once again, just spending time together and
Beautiful sunset back there.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
And I think that's part of a healthy marriage is spending time together.
Yeah.
And I know you and I've talked many a times about firefighters, how sometimes their job pulls them away from that, and how sometimes you have to be able to keep that alive, even though your job is really demanding. And I remember remember hear you talking about some of the meetings we had with the chaplains,
Yeah.
just how that's important with the guys.
Yep, working on those, strengthening those marriages.
Yes.
And if we can keep those marriages strong, we we keep our firefighters and our police officers strong, and that's so important. So definitely something we relied on with our chaplains and really wanted to kind of build that program. And I'm excited to tell you later more that we're doing for that.
I love that. That's what I'm saying. Trever will retire from the fire department, but doesn't really retire.
Yeah.
Don't check out from life. You're able to walk 500 miles and take 2 months off, but you still have an active life. And I think that's important for even some of the audience out there. Sometimes people may lose a perspective after retirement or an injury or something, but there's always something that you can get involved with. That's something we keep promoting.
So you guys travel a lot. And you've been around. So were both of you like that early on in marriage? And did both of you like traveling? And I'll give you some context of why I'm asking. I have zero interest. I'm deathly afraid of planes. I don't want to go anywhere. But my wife does. And I know it would be for the better good of our family if I went. Was that at all the case, or were both of you normal?
So
or was anyone weird like that?
Yeah, so I think your wife is right. I think you need to stretch it out a little bit.
Dang,
get
I
on
knew
that
you were gonna
plane.
say that.
You know what? I think we both looked at our upbringing. I didn't travel much as a child. My dad did what he had to do to put food on the table, and vacations weren't part of that. I always, throughout my career, told people I'd have a lot more money in my 401k if it wasn't about building memories.
Yeah.
And as our kids were growing up, that was so important
It
to
is,
us.
with
to
young
make
ones.
Sure, yeah, and then not just that, but me and my wife, we took vacations without the kids, and our kids would always actually comment and say, "Man, you guys look more in love when you come back." It's like, yeah, that's why we do it.
Yes.
We got to get out, we got to travel, and
If you're out there and you're married, listen to this guy.
yeah,
Seriously.
so definitely encourage those family trips, but also those trips of just and like we said, 30 years in the fire department, and the last thing we wanted was to retire and our kids grow up and become empty nesters, and all of a sudden look at each other and like,
Who are you?
Now what? It's like,
Yeah.
no, we've been building to that 500-mile walk. We've been building to being able to make those memories.
As we can see from the pictures.
Yeah.
So, Trever, what interested you in firefighting? What was that? What was that draw? Because there again, being around some of the 911 community, sometimes there is a draw. My brother retired from SO Sheriff Department after 29 years, and I never knew he wanted to be a sheriff until he entered the academy, and I was like, wow, never knew that. He just wanted to be able to be a service to the community.
Yeah, I wish I had. I wish I had that good story. So I remember I was a senior in high school. I was told to do a report on a career that I might be interested in, and all of a sudden I'm looking, and that was back. I'm going to date myself. That was back before we had computers. So I'm doing the research, and
I'm old too.
Yeah, and I all of a sudden found that I want to be an EMT and work on an ambulance.
Wow.
And so I'm doing this research, and the research said, well, there's also EMTs are also firemen. So I remember knocking on a door. I grew up in Clovis. And I remember knocking on a door at a firehouse, and I remember talking to this fireman. I still remember his name. His name was Lee Kraft.
Oh, wow.
And I remember knocking on the door.
Lee must have made an impression.
He did. And I said, hey, I'm looking to become an EMT, and I want to work on an ambulance. And he goes, no, let me tell you. You want to be an EMT, but you want to be a fireman, and here's why. And,
I love that.
And so in high school, I didn't have that family member that was a fireman. I didn't have that neighbor. I didn't have any of those, but I just happened to. It was God's plan. I happened to a firehouse, knocked on the door. I did some ride-alongs, started taking fire. He kind of guided me. Hey, take this fire tech class.
I love that.
And from that point, then I realized, okay, I do want to serve the community, and I want to help. And fire department was just, man, 30 years. And I loved every day of it, which is such a blessing to be able to look back on it now and say, man, I loved going to work every day. And at the end, those last 3 years, I was at a desk pushing paper, and I still loved coming to work and being part of the fire department. And
Because you're part of a team.
yeah, no, it was awesome.
You are. Do we have some pictures that went up there, guys, when he was talking about the fire department? I don't want to skip anything,
Yeah, so just I think that was some of the pictures from the time I spent in working with our Bakersfield Firefighters Burn Foundation.
Ooh.
And, definitely giving back to the community, and that's what I tell all the young firemen that come to work is find a way for you to give back to the community, get involved, and you will be rewarded tenfold coming back. And it was the time I spent with the Burn Foundation. Quick story. I remember 2 years on the job, so we're going back 28, 29 years ago. I remember being at the Fresno Burn Unit before we ever had a burn unit here, and I remember holding a 4-year-old. Her name was Lucy, and holding Lucy and severe burns, hot water heater explosion, severe burns, meeting the family. Take it back 12 years later, age 16, involved with the Burn Foundation, doing a ski trip up at China Peak, up at Huntington Lake, and all of a sudden we're riding, and I'm volunteering with another Burn Foundation. We're riding up a chairlift, and we start talking to this teenager now that is on the chairlift, and we're talking to Lucy, and Lucy goes, "Well, I'm from Bakersfield," and we start doing that. We start talking back and forth, and Lucy was here in Bakersfield, going to Ridgeview High, and we're talking. And I come back and I tell Steve Dietz, which was the executive director back at the time, and I tell Steve Dietz the story. And he comes to the fire station that I'm working at a couple days later, and he brings me that picture of me holding Lucy. I didn't even remember doing that
when she was young.
So let's take that another level. So then I reconnect with Lucy, and through the Burn Foundation. Once again, this is how I say that I got more back than what I gave.
Yeah.
So then we start working, and I find out Lucy's goal is to become a nurse. So all of a sudden, the Burn Foundation starts supporting her. And we go to Mr. Harvey Hall's office.
I remember
I say, Harvey, let me tell you about Lucy here. And actually, we get her a scholarship.
Wow.
And Lucy's a burn nurse now in the burn center at Fresno.
Isn't that
So
great?
awesome.
That was through a 28-year portion of my career. But once again, I got more back through that than what I was giving, but it was just getting involved.
And you actually were the part of the leadership group for the Burn Center here in town. I remember attending a couple dinners that you had put on, and how impactful they were, and how many people they affect.
Yeah. So I was part of, through the Burn Foundation, I was part of the steering committee to bring the Burn Center to, working with the Grossmans to bring the Burn Center to Kern County and Bakersfield. And once again, that Burn Center is up and rolling. It is. Dignity Health. It's making a huge difference in our
Making a big impact for a community and making a difference, too.
Yeah.
Because you even, I know that you guys put on camps for them, and you get scholarships to count, and it just turns their life around, doesn't it?
That's awesome.
It does. It really does. How about your family? I know you got your kids, and I know we've got a picture of the family there.
Yeah, so family picture there. So me and my wife Sherry, and we've got my son Josh is 25. He'll be 26 in December. And my daughter Ellie, she's 23. And then actually that's my son-in-law Matt. So my daughter was married in May. Man, Matt is a godly man.
Oh, cool.
Just sit and hear him and man,
prayed for a man too, because you guys probably were praying for her husband since she was born.
Yeah, and you know what? That's funny that you bring that up. That's actually a story that I told with the toast at the wedding. So
I love that my daughter's going to get married this June.
Yeah.
So I'm ready. I'm all ears now.
Yeah. So I actually I actually feel.
I think
bad.
we have a pic. Yeah, right there. You guys are on.
I actually feel bad telling the story on this show, but I was very active from the praying for my daughter, very active, and God, man, He was so good. I mean, brought Matt. We became involved with the church. Ellie started going to the college group, and right then she met Matt, and she knew. And
wow.
And I think what drew her to Matt is what a godly man she was, and. I didn't say this part at the wedding, but I'll tell you, and hopefully I can help guide some fathers out there, is I was very intentional praying for my daughter.
Yes.
That's what I was going to ask, because I have a 6 and a 4-year-old.
And I've got a 25 and a 22-year-old.
And I try and do that. I try and, pray with them. In fact, they'll lead prayer a lot of time. But
specifically,
what are you referring to when you say you're,
intentional.
active and intentional praying? Are you meaning over their husband?
So intentional over, and I don't think this is uncommon as a father of a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
I was very intentional to keep the boys away.
Yeah.
I was praying for that godly man, and I feel bad. I'm going to say this right now. I wasn't as intentional for my son, and I've started that now.
Ooh, I like that.
And it is. That's difficult because you have to look at yourself. But I was very intentional, praying for that right man to come into
Right.
my daughter's life, because
Right.
that's your daughter, that's
It is.
sweet girl. And all of a sudden, when I got to that point and she met Matt, and I looked at those, man, the blessing that it was, and the answered prayers. But I had to reflect and say,
prayer.
have I prayed that much for my son to find that
Wow.
godly? Now I do now.
I love
Yeah.
that.
But at first I look back on myself and I fixed that. So if there's any fathers out there,
Yes, if you're
that's-
out there.
that son deserves that prayer for that
It's-
godly woman as much as that daughter deserves.
It's that. Have you ever talked to Sherry and asked her if she's probably praying for her son? Yeah, she's shaking her head, yes. Because I've got 2 daughters, so I don't have that experience with a son. And I know you have 2 daughters. You and I talk about that all the time. But there again, I was intentional. I was intentional enough that my daughter's fiance, Danny, and I always brag on Danny now, because at one point, he said, Mr. Touchdown, I saw that crazy dad in you. But then I saw the prize in Tessa. I was willing to deal with the crazy in you. Do that, and he's a godly young man. I've had, and there again, so I know what it's like to be praying for that man, and then when you see it, my daughter had some surgery done a couple years ago, and only so many people could be in there, and I saw the impact that Danny was having with my daughter in this room, and I said, I'm going to step outside. And it was so cool. My wife came up and she goes, that was good, because I go, well, Danny was more impactful to her at that moment than even her dad was. But I knew there was something special there. Yeah.
So you did that early on when they were young, or was that something as they started becoming adults? I mean, as far as like praying for them, praying over their futures, the right guy that comes into their life.
Yeah, I think that we would always. I mean, we look back on great, very, very fortunate. But we look back on, and we were the family that was having dinner around the table every night and turned the TV off and prayed before dinner, and that was very important to us.
Yeah.
And of course, we were always praying for our kids. But I think it was when she became a teenager that I started praying for a godly boyfriend or
Right.
A mate.
husband. Yeah, a mate,
Well-
somebody. And I really, our daughter Ellie, she's such an amazing, amazing girl, and her standards were up there.
Yeah,
I love that.
She was
Good.
looking for
Agree.
that. She was looking for that.
And if you're a
godly
girl
man.
out there, your standards should be high, and guys too.
Yeah, yeah.
It is. So I love that.
Yeah, that struck a chord with me because that's
Yeah.
something that I do, and I try and do that. So hearing that prayer's answered, God hears those prayers,
Oh.
and God listens to those, and then your kids obviously at the table praying. I like that. That's awesome.
So you've got another love. You're wearing the shirt today,
Yeah.
and you drug me in.
You know what? I think I drug you in about 10 years ago as a chaplain for the fire department, and I won't let you go.
Well, I just love being around you because I love your leadership style. I love being around you. And I love your ideas. And when the minute you told me about 911 at ease, I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. I'm dragging Kyle into, and Mike Harvey and my friend John Haddad, because I believe in it. Can you tell the audience just a little bit about what's going on?
Yeah, so man, I was so fortunate. So just before I retired, 911 at Ease. So let me tell you a little bit real quick what. So 911 at Ease is a nonprofit that was started about 7 years ago in Santa Barbara through the Santa Barbara Police Officers Association. Mike McGrew is the executive director. He's a chaplain, or was a chaplain for Santa Barbara, and he just saw the need to be able to support first responders. So what they did is they established 911 at Ease, and what 911 at Ease does is they provide free, confidential counseling for first responders, their families, and their children. And what we've seen, so Cassie Wright of the Bill Wright family here in Kern County, she went to an event last November, and she heard all about this in Santa Barbara, and she said, man, I want that for Kern County. I want that for our first responders. She made an amazing donation. And in January, we brought our 911 at Ease came to Kern County. So I had the opportunity when they came and talked to me at the Batesville Fire Department. I said, yes, we'd love this for our guys. We just want this to be another opportunity for our members to seek help, and it's confidential. So our firefighters didn't have to come and talk to me as the chief of the department. They could seek help for their marriage. They could seek help with their kids, or they could seek help for work-related stress. So we started working, and we said, yep, let's bring that program to Kern County, Bakersfield Fire. And as I got close to retiring, they go, hey, you know what? Would you be willing to help us and help run the Kern County program? And for me, my whole time with the fire department, the men and women of the fire department always came first. And this I looked at as an opportunity. I mean, Tom, you know, I when we started or brought the chaplain program back to the fire department, one of the amazing things that I look back on is that last 3 years of my career, we actually started having our chaplain meetings in the conference room.
We did.
Praying over the department, the city, the men.
It was pretty exciting.
In the fire station. That had
was
never
pretty
happened
exciting.
in 27 years up to that point.
Nope.
We are in a fire station. We are in the conference room. We're praying over the city, the department, the men. So 911 at ease, they presented it. It is the executive director, both executive directors are godly men, that they see the need to be able to support the families, to support the first
Yes.
responders, keep the marriages strong, like we said before. And man, it has been amazing. So like I said, I retired from the fire department. It's a young man's job. You got to bring a new young man in and let them take that over. But this has given me that opportunity to continue
on.
And now I'm not just working with firemen. I'm working with police officers and,
Yeah.
and critical care hospital workers and EMS personnel. And this, real quick to give you some numbers, 100% confidential. As a
It is.
program
It
manager,
is. And I love that as being even a chaplain
Yeah.
for the fire department. This gives us another opportunity to get deeper in with the guys and their family. That's what I love about it.
Yeah. So what I do get as a program manager is I get monthly stats.
Yes.
Since January, we've had 120 Kern County first responders or first responder family members reach out and start receiving support
Yes.
through this organization.
Wow.
I would have never thought that number was
It-
possible.
There again, you just have to know it as being a chaplain for the city fire department. You know, we just don't get those numbers
Yeah.
for whatever. And the 911 responders, I mean, they deal with a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the first guys out there. I mean, what you guys did, Trevor, is amazing. And what you guys roll up on is sometimes very traumatic to the person themselves. And they need this opportunity. So that's why I love being involved with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think it's sensational.
Yeah, so it has definitely been it's been very rewarding. It is like I said, I was ready to retire, but I wasn't ready to
No.
retire. So this has given me a great opportunity, and now that I'm definitely seeing, and we're seeing those numbers, this is just an option, but not. And police officers are a great example.
Yes.
Sometimes when you involve your insurance company, they want a diagnosis. We tell our clinicians that we go and we interview. We tell them about the program, and then once we bring them on, we tell them we don't want you to diagnose as far as give them a label. We just want you to treat them.
Yeah.
We want you to make their marriages strong. We want you to keep them on the streets. We want to keep them in their positions, and it's working. I mean,
Wow.
we definitely are seeing a
120 families, that's not a small number.
that is not a small number.
And those families go on and then impact the people in their lives and the people that are in proximity of them. So that number is substantially larger that has been affected.
Yeah, and so in the first responder, whether it be a guy or a gal, I mean, they need that support, and being able to minister to the whole group is huge,
Right.
Yeah.
huge. And the resources that you're able to bring through that, and you're getting the support of each department.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I love so much about this program, and we've had other programs that we've built on with the department, but it includes the families.
Yes.
It includes the spouses, the kids that aren't enjoying doing Zoom, and then like we said, I keep saying it, probably 60% of the referrals are marriage related.
Yes.
Wow.
And we definitely need to keep these marriages strong. We need to keep, and by doing that, we keep those officers strong. We keep them on the
Yes.
streets, and we provide a safe community.
Trevor, you impacted me one time when we were in a chaplain meeting, and you had said one of the ways that you guys can identify sometimes problems, not the only way, but one of the way is the guys that don't want to go home.
Yeah.
Overtime shifts.
Yeah.
You know, if you go there, I mean, there's something there.
Yeah.
Now, how do you get to that problem? You know, because they're carrying something. You know, and how do you get and minister to that? So allowing them to have someplace they can go and get professional help and be able to deal with this, and then get that family life back on the tracks.
Yeah. There's no way to go through a 20-year, 25-year, 30-year career as a first responder, whether it's police, fire, EMS, without seeing things, without being involved with things, and everybody. And I look back on it on my career, and I really think that what worked so well for me is the marriage that I had and the
Yes.
home life and the support that I had. And not everybody has that. So that's what we want to deal with. I was thinking, driving here today, I was thinking about calls, and me and you might be, because there's a lot of young guys here in this room, me and you might be the only ones who remember this. I was first on scene at the Vincent Brothers incident.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Huh? I
20
didn't-
years ago. That was a big deal in Kern County,
was.
horrific. And I was able to get through that because I came back and I was able to talk to my wife.
Yes.
And not everybody has that.
Yeah.
Not everybody has that.
It's funny because I was going to ask you because we did have Anthony Galgeza.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony, you're retiring. I mean, I think that's great. He was on our program, and he could remember the first infant that he went up on,
Yeah.
and how he can, even through his senses, still smell it and stuff. And it's interesting that you bring up a 29-year-old incident that you can remember and how traumatic it was, and that what saw you through that. Well, and the guys are rolling out on this stuff every day. Every day. And they're coming home with this stuff. And sometimes I know how it is with me in the ministry. I'll come home and sometimes my wife and I won't catch up for 2 or 3 days. Mm-hmm. And after a while, just 2 or 3 days piles up. I remember last weekend, my wife and I got to talk for a while, and 4 hours evaporated. And I just couldn't believe it. We were just communicating because she's a superintendent of a school district, and I'm, my ministry job. And so it just took us a while just to decompress, and how refreshing that was. So if you're out there, whatever you're dealing with, you need to find, somebody to be able to talk to, like 911 at ease if you're a first responder, or even if you're out there maybe coming in for some pastoral guidance or counseling if you need help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you said
people have to talk to people.
68%, what you said it was, I think 68% were related around the calls that you get around marital, or could you say that again?
So once again, through the 911 ad as the program manager, I kind of look at trends.
Right.
And when I go back and talk to an agency and say, hey, so I'm going to go talk to the Bakersfield Police Department, and we just kind of let them know, hey, you know what? There's work stress.
Yes.
There's family stress. So about 60% of what we've seen come through the Kern County is, a lot of it is 60% is relationship driven.
That's
And,
okay.
And really, if we can teach, or if a first responder reaches out and they do seek help, just being able to strengthen that, or the clinician be able to tell the first responder, hey, you need to have somebody. It might not be your wife, but it could be your pastor, or it could be your other coworker, but you need to have somebody kind of guiding you.
So what Trevor's able to do is go and talk to the chiefs.
Right. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is he's being proactive?
Yes.
Yes, he's being reactive as well as far as support. You're there, but you're also able to curb things before they take effect.
So
which is rad.
and I think
That's really cool.
with first responders, you're thinking PTSD and you're thinking trauma related, and yes, those are there, and we have some amazing clinicians here in Kern County that are able to help and support that. But there's that other piece. There's that other piece that is. So, give me a great example. So, a fireman come to me and say, when I was the operations chief, hey, I'm really struggling, and our marriage is falling apart, and of course, but the city's not going to say, well, we have the employee assistance programs, but the city's not going to say, okay, here's some counselors to go to help your marriage. Right. That's what's beautiful about 911 at ease is we understand that is an important piece of every first responder. Their relationships with their kids' relationships, and how they're coping with Zoom or with changes in their lives. And the goal of 911 at ease is to be all-encompassing. We want to make the individuals strong. We want to make the marriages and the family strong. And then what that does is that puts that strong officer on the streets that's providing that service and keeps them
the
in their car.
firefighter, the paramedic, whatever it be that is there. So I love it. So we want to talk about the event on Wednesday night, or is that something?
Yeah, we can. I'd love to share with the group. So if you want to know more about 911,
yes, tell them how to do that.
Yeah, so go to 911 AEI, so 911AEI.org, and there's an amazing website. There is definitely a few videos and testimonials to pull up and look at, and there's also a way to give if you want to support 911, AEI.
Yes.
Hit the Kern County button. All money donated will stay here in
It
Kern
does.
County.
I love that.
It'll help
That's cool.
support.
And this is geared toward first responders of all.
Yeah, so first responders. So COVID has changed the
Yeah.
world a little bit. So it's for police, fire, EMS, corrections, as well as our critical care hospital. So our ER, our
Yeah.
ICU, our people working in the COVID units. We
Mhm.
definitely see the need to support them as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the program is there for that as well. So Wednesday we do have an event. The event
Yes,
is
we
sold
do.
out. What a gift
Isn't
to
it
be able
really?
to say the event is sold out. So we're going to do first event will be this coming Wednesday, and really what the goal of that is to just kind of get this out there. And you're allowing me to do that today, but we really just want to share with the community who we are, the difference we're making.
And you are.
We got Sheriff Youngblood's going to speak, and I think he's going to talk a little bit about the impact that this program has had following Deputy Sheriff Campus's incident on July 20th.
I remember you telling me about that.
So we're so thankful for his support, and all of the chiefs, all of the different organizations have really supported, embraced
Well-
this program. And our goal is just to be a tool to help support their members and their families.
I love it.
Awesome.
I love it. Thank you for being on. So if you guys out there, this would be my advice to you. And I'm not plugging for shares and likes, but if you know a first responder, maybe send this show to them so they can find out about it, find out how to get a hold of Trever, because it is serious. You know, it's one where our community depends on firefighters, police officers, paramedics, nurses, doctors, and all of that group gets taken care of through that.
Well, and there's a need. I think the
Yes.
fact that since January, 120 people, there's a need there.
Yeah.
And there's so many people donating time, and so it is. I couldn't thank you very much. Personally, Trevor,
Thank you, sir.
thank you for what
Thanks for
you've done.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you for your service for the community, for the fire department, burn center, and going on with 911 at East. So, is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with? Just one last thought, or do we empty your mind?
No, this was awesome. Thanks for having me.
Oh.
What a great opportunity.
I loved having you, Kyle. Thank you for being a great
It
host,
was fun.
and we're going to be talking more about your show. So, tell the audience what your show is going to be named. Or am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah, well, there's two.
Okay.
So it's not fully decided, but it's going to be related to ministry and business, and
how people go about doing that.
yep, and how you correlate them, and it's going to be fun. It'll be interesting.
It'll
So,
be fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've committed to helping you.
Yep.
So encourage
Well,
me.
and what's funny is your commitment to help me. Sometimes that's all you have to do, right? Is just say something, because this has kind of been an idea in my head
for 2 years.
for a long time, and I've talked to Brad about it, and Brad's like, well, if it's on your heart, do it. If it's on your heart, do it. Well, flash forward a couple of years, still haven't done it. I said one word to you, and you're like, I'm in,
Well,
and I will help. And I go, well, I guess I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in because you're in, and now we're in.
I love it.
And so, no, I'm excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think it's going to be a good place for people to come. So,
I love it. So next week, our guest host is Mike Green. A lot of people know him. He was a guest here on our show. And I think he's bringing on a guest named Wesley Leon, both veterans. It'll be Veterans Day next. So we're going to have a lot of fun with Mike and Wesley. So other than that, have a great day. How do they get a hold of you, Kyle, if they want to get a hold of you?
Instagram, Facebook, I monitor them pretty closely. I'm easy to find. If you just Google my name, some people, I'm like, how did you get a hold of me? They're like, I Googled your name. I'm like, well, I guess that's what happens when you pay to promote yourself. So you become easy to find. So.
Pastor Tom at vbf.org. Get a hold of me. Any questions you have from today, send it to us, and we'll answer them next week. So other than that, have a great day.
Thanks.
God bless.